I'm Dan Drake. This is Front Up on Geno TV and Channel 99. We have with us two special guests today. Cheryl Emery, who is the head of the Park and Rec Commission, among her other hats she wears here in town, and Elizabeth O'Rourke, who is the principal of a firm called Jardine International.
That's right.
Or Jardin. It's Jardin, should be.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Welcome. Delighted to have you here. We have a specific project to talk about. Maybe, Cheryl, we should start with you and how this project came about.
Okay,
well, tell people what it is.
Okay, so as Nantucket Park and Recreation Commissioner and the chair of Nantucket Park and Recreation Commission, I have become increasingly aware of a state of our parks, and Tom Nevers is a park that I feel is not front and center to our tourist community, and it's hasn't been managed properly over the years, and I feel like it gets a lot of use, and we need to do something to make it better. So I approached Elizabeth one day and asked her if she'd be interested in helping me with this project. And she said, yes, I'd love to volunteer my time to do this, but I don't think she knew what she was getting into and how deep of a project it really is.
We'll come back to it in a minute. I'd just like to hear a little bit about your background, Elizabeth, and how you got to where you are in terms of this, your skills and so forth.
For the landscape architecture in general?
Yes.
Well, I guess I've always liked the arts. And so I studied like all aspects of the arts going to school, and then eventually I had a family, and then I thought, you know, I should really go back for an education, and I heard of landscape architecture and it lit all my buttons, and so I looked into it and I went back to school with my two children, and so they never looked back. It's I think the perfect profession for me.
Good. So what was the challenge that Cheryl presented you with?
Well, I'm a resident of Tom Nevers. I've lived out there for 21 years, and so I was really familiar with the area. I thought it was an amazing place. I remember the first time I saw it, it was sort of, what is this? You know, with the Ferris wheel and the ocean and the cliff. And so I really love it. I think it's a terrific asset that we have. And so when she approached me about the kind of state of neglect and would we like to maybe do something to improve it, I felt like, yeah, this is something we can do.
Okay. So I gather that this is something that the community in Tom Nevers has gotten behind quite.
Yes,
yeah, that's right. We have the Tom Nevers Civic Association. We have their general support, and maybe not each individual in the group, but sort of generally speaking. And then Duo McIntyre is kind of more like in the Tom Nevers East group. So we've done community outreach with them. We've done presentation to the town. We've done one at the library. We've presented to the Board of Selectmen. We've reached out to the community school, the newspaper, whoever is willing to talk to us.
Have you gotten any pushback?
A little bit of pushback. There are people who feel like having more people in the park, more noise and that kind of thing, but at the same time they do live next to a park, and it's supposed to be for community use and enjoyment and recreation.
When did the town take it over? In the 1980s or 1990s?
I think it was 1980s. I do have that timeline,
but
not with
I
me.
think it's exactly.
And not too much has been done. There was a few buildings that were destroyed and buried, and that brings us to some of the problems that we're facing now, that the erosion, and because of the erosion, we're having some of those parts and pieces coming off the bluffs.
Right.
And those need to be addressed by our community.
Okay.
Yeah, the debris from the old infrastructure is creating an unstable, unsafe environment. It's preventing the bank from stabilizing itself by having sort of native plant material growing back. When you have a gentle slope, if you have a little bit of erosion, it can recuperate.
How much erosion is going on?
About 2 feet a year to almost 3 feet at one end. That's been the pattern with sort of sea level rising. Who knows if this pattern will stay, but we have shown a graph of how much we will lose in the next 50 years at the projected current rate of erosion and what would happen in 100. And
Not as bad as Madigan. Anyway.
yeah,
All right, I'm going to run through these quickly.
Okay,
and
thank
you
you.
sort of point out this is the Tom Nevers Field Improvement Project.
yeah, this was.
This
part
was, of course, a Navy base at one time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And on this one, so that shows the outline of the park. And so this is 21 acres. And with the beach component and some of the land that's left, it was 25 acres. We also have the housing, the Nantucket housing lot here, which we'd like to incorporate into the project. And we have the Lewises here, are very supportive of this project. They're our direct abutter. The rest is Conservation Foundation land and land bank down to that side.
Just one other thing to mention about this, where on Nantucket do we have 21 acres of parkfront property?
Yep. People
The-
complain that they can't afford it. They can. They have it.
Right.
They own it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's ours. So the beautiful
So-
vantage point, beautiful open space. And it's got like a nice rural quality, a nice remote quality to it. We have
Do many people come to the beach there?
plenty of beach access. I would say it's not like Surfside, but there's always some people using the beach. And there's some fishermen that like to go there. There's plenty of seal activities, so there's good sea life to be had there. And that's some of the existing recreation components. We have softball leagues that's very active in the summer. There's baseball being played. There's a children's playground. And we have the county fair. There used to be a demo derby that's not taking place anymore. People are using the old skating rink a little bit, not so much for hockey, but sort of indoor soccer and a little bit of basketball. So that's the existing layout. I think most
So
people.
there are 2 ball fields.
Yeah, 2 ball fields.
Right.
This was a dirt bike track. This is where the county fair is. That's where the bunker.
Is that where the fair is when
Yeah.
it comes to?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can skip through some of these. It's
All
just
right.
that's
Tell me
the
which
city-
one
This
is-
is interesting.
this
This is
is-
interesting. I mean, to have like a park to
Yeah,
have
that's-
a barrier like this, it could be so much more beautiful with
Right.
split rail fence and viewing stations and
Yeah.
And you have the runoff problem.
Yeah, we have the runoff problem that the old asphalt. So that road used to go to the VFW.
Right.
The VFW has fallen down the bank. There's some of the old infrastructure that's now washing down the bank. This next picture
Yeah,
illustrates it
we-
well.
We're not going to spend any time on that one, but it's pretty discouraging.
Yeah, and our DPW department is looking into doing some gentle cleanup here as much as they can do without full permits. But we'd like to work on a full plan to restabilize the bank and replant it and to get a hold of the erosion as much as we can help, because some of the erosion is man-made.
Right.
Some of it is a bigger force, but
this is very interesting.
This
Yeah.
is an important one.
yeah. So this shows. So this is the current line of the ocean. The blue line is the top of bank, and we see here there's a bifurcation in this zone. So this is where the debris is filing and where the
Right.
runoff is making conditions worse. So this is the 50-year line.
Is there a
and it's-
natural flow of runoff down on several places here?
Yeah,
or
I
is
mean,
it-
there is kind of a low section in the
Yeah.
zone, so it is coming from this direction
Right.
and from that one. But what's important about this line, about the line of erosion, is that, which we stress, is that the ocean line is an even line, but the top of the bank line is not even. That's
Right.
man-made. This is the bigger force.
Okay. Because there are structures in some places or worse structures
In the
other places.
macadam.
In the macadam.
That's
Yeah,
right.
there's a lot of, we'll see in a minute, there's a lot of paving.
Yeah.
But there
That's
are
right, and
a
the
number of
paving
diff-
is not necessary.
Yeah.
This is a park, so you could have parking that are made of aggregates.
But these are foundations of the old buildings.
That's right. The foundation of buildings, I believe these were for like a storage of the gas tanks, because you can see the circular forms on those. But again, people go there and park on weekends. Maybe put a lounge chair, but really, that's
Oh, okay.
that's not what it's.
And
That's
then
not what the park should be
these
about.
next few just show really bad conditions.
Yeah.
The worn out roller rink, the storage
ma-
structures.
Oh,
Are
Not
those used?
maintained.
Are they used for anything?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
The public bathrooms are there, but are they maintained at all?
But
No,
barely.
and-
There's
and-
no
and-
budget.
And because of the state of neglect,
Yeah.
it's sort of fostering a little bit of what do you call it? vandalism.
Mm-hmm.
So bottles have been found there, needles have been found. You know, it's not,
Yeah.
when a place is neglected, it's fostering a different kind of activity than
Right.
if it's well taken care
Right.
of. So it's important to,
There's the bunker.
That's
the
right.
famous bunker.
so I was told over at the county fair that the man who opened it, that the door is about to fall off. But we found there's a sister one in Florida, and JFK never used it.
Right.
Fortunately, there was no
Fortunate,
nuclear war. But it could. We're looking into maybe bringing a historical component to the park and
Yeah, I think these next two just show the
rusty playground.
rusty playground.
Little
feet-
fingers can cut
fences and so
themselves. Yeah,
forth.
that's not
Well,
safe. to
Big
climb
fingers
on.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so when we presented, we did our community outreach. When we presented, we passed a survey. You know, what are the usage that you most like about this park, and then which one would you like to see in the future? So everyone kind of like the beach access, the open fields, the softball fields are well used, vehicular to be able to get there by car and have parking, the public bathroom, and the baseball field. And then on the next one,
Yes, can I interrupt for just
Yeah,
a second?
of course.
Do you know that if bus service ever comes to Tom Nevers, will it go out as far as this?
I would hope so.
Yeah, has there been any discussion of that?
Not of a bus, but we do have a plan for 2022 or 2027 for a bike path that will come out to Tom Nevers, and maybe sooner if there's funding.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the ridiculousness of it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So most people want to see the removal of the impermeable structures. I think most people agree on that. Planting indigenous species, having a nice coastal bank that's healthy, and what we're sending down the ocean would not be pollution. Budgeting for security and for maintenance, removing old infrastructure, rerouting the road so that it's not going through the middle of the park, and maybe having a nice playground.
Because there is a
for the
through
children.
road that goes through it, isn't there?
There was, and it keeps moving, and
Yeah.
they re-asphalted. This is the concept plan that we. So it's very loose, but it's a concept plan that we came up with. So that we have like a nice coastal bank that would be all replanted. We have nice open play area.
These are trails.
Yeah,
So
walking
they're-
trails. So someone with disability, a wheelchair or stroller, could engage in this park, but it would not be asphalt, it would not be curbing, it would be a compacted aggregate, which you find in parks all over the world. There would be a grilling and barbecuing area here, plenty of parking at the entrance. We were rerouting the road to that side, and then maybe a secondary parking at the other end, so people can have easy beach access.
But there still would be a road through it
There would be a
No.
road at the back,
at the back.
at the
okay.
back.
And that's after acquiring, hopefully, the land that's owned by the Housing Authority,
Which is owned by the town.
Right.
which is
Yeah.
owned.
So that's the general concept, and we're continuing to doing community outreach.
Is this any
It's
different?
the
That's
same. It's
top
without
line.
the color.
So you have a phased plan to bring this along, right?
Yeah. So we're sort of in the. We're kind of completing phase one, which was to generate interest, improve Tom Nevers Field, do the site analysis, historical research, public outreach, and community involvement. So we keep working at this, and then there's the design and the cost analysis. So we've begun to do a sort of very conceptual master plan. We would love to help and advise if there was a master plan that was funded by the town or by a sort of a private-public relationship.
Fortunately, that has to go out for bids if it's over a certain amount.
That's right.
So we are looking at, we did meet with the Central Park Conservancy recently on Nantucket, and they are putting together a scope of work that they can help us possibly present to the town a model,
That's
a
great.
conservancy
That's
model that would work. And so that's part of the mission of Central Park Conservancy now, to help other communities
Very
have that
interesting.
relationship. The town does not lose control of the property. That's
Very important.
very important, right?
So this is probably a 5-year deal or something like that, at minimum. Hopefully
hope
not.
not.
Hopefully not. But
I would say that's realistic.
Park and Rec has trouble with money anyway. You basically don't have a budget.
Well, Park and Rec was dismantled in
Right.
2012.
The department was dismantled.
And there's no budget for our parks at the moment. It's not cohesive. There's nobody that's advocating for the parks in any way. There's no additional programming, not just in Tom Nevers, but other parks. There's
What
so
are the
many-
other parks that you, Park and Rec has
Winter
commission?
Park. Winter Park, which
Winter.
is at the end of Essex Road. It's
Right.
a cute little park. It could have so much more. There's a big neighborhood of people on Appleton Road and Essex area. A lot of children there, so there could be things for them after school and on weekends.
The windmill.
Yeah, there's
Children's
Children's
Beach,
Beach, which
right.
has a little bit going on, and I've approached, at the time, it was the Cultural Services Department that was running programs, but nobody has the time or to take on more in our town.
Right.
And the other thing is maintenance. I mean, and all our parks are lacking maintenance. They just do what they can do and get by with, and there needs to be a budget. There needs to be maintenance people hired just to do park maintenance. I mean, the land bank does a fabulous job taking care of their parks, and that's one thing that I'd like to see happen in Park and Recreation.
In the town.
Mhm.
Elizabeth, if this were to happen, if this does happen, which we will assume it will for purposes of discussion, what would be your greatest sense of accomplishment?
Oh, just maybe seeing people play in a beautiful park. People come together and taking care of what we have, taking care of what we own.
Would it be planned to still be used for events and for
Yeah.
things like the
I mean, the
Like
town,
the county fair is
Yeah.
so
County fair,
popular.
yeah.
the county fair,
The
the carnival, maybe,
Yeah.
I think, that would be an event management through the police department. They handle the events now, so I'm not sure exactly what they would allow and not allow. They would definitely allow anything that's existed, that's been a regular
Right.
part, but anything new, it would have to go through them.
But
I-
90% is like the pacific sort of recreation
Right.
aspect.
passive
I
recreation?
think
Yeah.
the town needs to find value in our parks. To find value like a healthier community. Now they're saying, I just came back from a Park and Recreation conference in New Orleans last week.
Which you had to pay for yourself to
I
go.
paid for
Yeah,
myself,
right.
definitely.
No budget.
I attended a lot of classes that week, and it was really interesting. They were saying the children of today will live 5 years less in their life than us.
Really?
Because they're not as healthy. They're more on their computers,
Right.
or they're not active, they're
gotcha.
not involved
I
in
understand.
sports, and so all of that. That's really important to have parks and have events and organized, activities going on in our parks.
Imagine New York without Central Park.
Oh, it'd be horrific.
And it used
And it
to
was
be,
and it was
that's
pretty
right.
horrific for a while.
That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
that's
right.
why the Conservancy was formed.
That's
There was
right.
no budget. People
Yeah.
were afraid to go there. There were
Right.
needles. It was littered. It was
Yeah.
a dangerous place. And then they began sort of a group effort,
Mhm.
not unlike what we're trying to do. And having a plan is important to sort of rally people around. If you have a nice plan that people can say you're not just giving up maybe funds, you're gaining something. And, that can get
It's
people
finding
excited.
value.
Well, wherever it goes, you deserve a lot of thanks for taking this on. I mean, those of us who serve on boards and so forth do it for whatever crazy reason. but if you just step forward and volunteer something like this effort, I think it deserve a lot of thanks and credit for it.
Thank you.
We did go before the Board of Selectmen, excuse me,
I was
and
going to ask you about that. How'd it go?
it went pretty well. I mean, I feel like, the response of the town, they are supportive, but it's going to take time. So they want to continue working group sessions. We're going to be meeting with BOS members on a regular basis throughout the year. As we move, they've asked us to do a few things, which we've done. We're working on now. One is continued public outreach, and also about the bunker. What do we do with the bunker?
Maybe
Is-
it could be a studio for your show.
Gino doesn't like that idea. He
Yeah.
just went.
You'd have great parking. You could go outside
That's
when it's a
right.
nice day and
That's
enjoy.
right.
You
I
know,
don't
do
think
your
I need.
interviews.
I don't think I need an audience.
do your interview on a bench.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
But it does have like almost like a studio vibe. I don't know if you've
Right.
ever been in it, but you know, there's no windows.
no,
like,
I've
you
not
know,
been. I've been
no
in the
door
one
sits there.
in West Virginia. You know, that was done during World War II. But,
Yeah.
Or during, I guess, Eisenhower administration. But
Yeah.
I've never been to the inside this one here.
Yeah, it's
But
pretty
we, were,
neat.
but we were talking about on the way over if ever you wanted to do a segment out there.
Gino does his drive-throughs, drive-arounds. So
think-
maybe get him to.
Oh, would it be like that English guy that you sing along?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Anyway, thank you so much for coming and sharing this with us.
I almost
you.
brought 2 ferns.
We would have had. I could have dealt with that kind of audience.
You've watched that before, right? Between
Yeah.
2 ferns.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth O'Rourke,
Thank you.
Cheryl Emery.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep up with the good work.
Thank you so much.